Hello and welcome to this episode of Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We have Nature Set number 56, which has just arrived today. I haven't touched it yet. This is a used set because I have my rubber guy now testing out with impressions all of the new designs when he gets them in. We want to make sure that the engraving and the matrix boards are the molds that you use to press the rubber from. We have to make sure that those are all perfect and everything is good to go. I have seen the impression test because I have him text me a photograph of the impression that he made from everything. So everything looks good, but I need to test it again here. And that's what we're going to be doing here. Okay, so this set right here, kind of in the spirit of a couple of the other new sets, has kind of a half design of a three-quarter view structure. Okay, so this little cottage right here, it's really kind of waterside, but you can just have that as a meadowy type of thing. But I've paired it with these other fences that I had rendered. Otherwise, it probably would have been another set of a set of waterside cottages or cabins or something like that. But these fences fit on here perfectly, and then to cram some additional imagery within this set so that you get whatever extra bang for your buck. I've put all these little rabbit types of things. I thought they would be cute with these types of little floral types of images here in the form of this curving fence like that. So we've done it kind of where it's kind of mirrored, so you can use either side for whatever type of fencing scenario you might use. So I see this as something like this little cottage with this little fence right here, and this being the water out this way, but you could really do it with water out this way, or it could just be a fence right in the middle of a land mass, and you can put whatever grass on each side of it. Fences right here, not quite, it's mirrored, but I did a smaller size here because you can see it fits right in here. So those are the types of decisions that you have to make, whatever, as a stamp producer here to really maximize the space. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some impression tests right here. Hello, Linda and Seal, good to see you both. Testing out these designs here. I really probably should just be doing some straight-on impressions, on a blank piece of paper, just testing for detailing and all that. But, what the heck? Instead of stamping on a white piece of paper, I thought it might be cool to do it on this little floral paper here, the aged foliage paper. Why not, That's what I said. Like I said, these have already been tested by my rubber guy. This will be the first time that I'm using any of these. They just arrived, I don't know, a couple hours ago. I started packaging up all of these new sets, and I only got to 2 versions of the Cling sets so far, so I have a lot of packaging to go. So I'll try to make this live stream fairly quick so that I can hopefully get a lot of your orders out, those pre-sale orders out. Okay, I'm dabbing a little bit of ink off the side of this because I'm going to have it kind of transition into this, I don't know, whatever it is, like a watercolory cluster of foliage. Okay. And we'll have it coming in from this side like this. I'll put it up a little bit higher like this. So, first time testing out for impressions. Hello, Zolis Estenzale. Good to see you. Yeah, first time I'll be putting some of these images together, so it's always kind of interesting to see how everything kind of works interactively. I mean, I already have kind of a good idea, but until you kind of get it on paper, and then play around with it a bit. And then also, it's like really important for me. I love seeing what other people do with the designs, kind of over time, initially and over time, but especially over time because a lot of people use a lot of the images in ways that, you know, I never even kind of considered before. If anyone's online on Facebook, go and check out those little, whatever we're calling it, the miniatures challenge. I just posted a couple responses to some of those miniatures this afternoon, and just seeing some of those really tiny pieces. Okay, let me look and see what I should do on this one right here. Look at these fences right here. I mean, I need to stamp these out here, but see this little curving thing could go like this way, along with this, but you can also do it this way, you know, this side like that. And then you just kind of I would put a tree line back here to kind of carry those trees out here. But, or you can just do, I can do not that fence, it would be this fence here in the background like that, I guess. Going off like that. Okay. All right, let's just make a decision here. Let's do, should I do this? Let's do this little wrap around like that. Okay. I don't want to have it too high up there, otherwise we're saying this post is like, you know, I don't know, whatever. It's like 8 feet tall or something like that. So I'll just use the top of this. But let's go for an impression test as well. Let's see here. Okay, I want to check for details on this one because even in the really dark areas, I wanted to see how much of the detailing transferred from, you know, design to engraving to mold to rubber, and then finally to our impression here. I wanted it fairly bold, but I wanted there to be a lot of kind of air in some of the shadow areas. So let's see how that went. Here, okay, it looks pretty good. It's all of the little things, the things that make this design right here. It's all, I mean, you wouldn't think so, but I've found that over the years, see that all that little space in here, that little kind of, I don't know what you would call it, like design grit. See all those little spaces in there, as opposed to it being just silhouette, just blank. All that little negative space, it's like what it would be like, it's like a little hole in the design. It gives more dimension when you throw all that little stuff in there from a visual standpoint. But I find that if I just make this all silhouette in here, what happens is you stamp it out, because, you know, the nature of stamping, you're pressing something against a surface. Sometimes you get that little wave of ink where it's kind of, you know, you're squishing ink down and then there's a liquid in the middle and then it kind of moves a little bit. I mean, I don't really mind the look of it, but it gets a little twisted in it. So if you put like this air in it with this little detailing like that, I find that it doesn't do that. It breaks it up and it keeps it more of just a solid area. I don't know what the tolerance is as far as like the amount of space you can have in there before it starts to, I don't know, in printing they call it fisheye, but I don't know, I find that little area in there, I don't know, years ago I found that kind of helped to prevent that type of, I don't know, whatever, impression, liquid impression, whatever, phenomena. So let me see here. Let me see here. Okay. Anyways, that one's that one. Okay, I used the wrong one. I was holding this up like that. That's the way I wanted it to go, right? But I'm new to rubber stamping, so I didn't realize it's this one because it's upside down, right? Like I said, I haven't, stamped very much before, as you can see. All right, let's do that. Let's try that again. So this is just the mirrored, flipped version. So one of the things you have to get things kind of like situated on that axis too. Do you ever find that with new stamps too? You got to get that axis down where it's you have it at the right axis. Otherwise, you stamp it out and things are like tilted or something like that, one way or another. Not the end of the world, but it's something that you kind of figure out with usage. All right, let's go about right. Oh, here, let me leave a little space in here. I'll see if I can throw a rabbit down. Those rabbits kind of triggered a little bit of a response from, I don't know, like 2 or 3 people in the comment section or in emails or something like that. It's like, hey, I have a rabbit, or I want to see what you do with those rabbits, something like that. All right. Like I said, I need some like other trees up there or something like that. But let's see how this one comes together like that. And see, I can have another fence out this way too and create a little bit of a kind of a horizon out here. Let me see. I might do that. I might want to do that on here. All right, let's see about these little rabbits here. Okay, let's check for scale. I'm checking for detail too. This looks like the street that I live on a little bit here when I cluster these like this. When this neighborhood was new, we took territory from nature, the Chaparral area, but then people had like things like landscaping and lawns and stuff like that, so it was like an endless supply of grass all of a sudden for all these rabbits. And there was like, you can drive down our street on the side of the road. Might have been, I don't know, 4 dozen rabbits on the grass eating. Like every, I don't know, late afternoon. It was so amazing. I guess nature kind of compensates, so you have more rabbits around. They suddenly get a lot more like coyotes around, so it all just kind of evened out a little bit. All right, so we have that. Let's see, let's go ahead and put a little bit of texturing in here. I'll break out of the impression test right here, and let's see what we can do with the general kind of little layout right here. Let's go over here, like this. Sedge filler right here. Like that. And let me see what. Oh, I was going to put some trees back there. Let me just use some of this right here. Overhanging branches. Let's see. Hello to everyone. Did I say hello to the Z's? Candy, good to see you. Cynthia, Zealous Zest. Did I get, all right, yeah, Zealous Zest was up there. Debbie, Good to see you and Sandy. Good to see you all. I hope everyone had a nice... Let me see. I hope everyone had a nice last weekend too. I wasn't here on the Friday night live. Let me see. During that Friday night live, I think I was setting up my campsite around that 4 o'clock time. It was super windy out in Joshua Tree National Park. And let's see, we were setting up our campsite. It wasn't quite daylight savings yet, so we had to get that set up. We could set up in the dark too, but this buddy and I. And yeah, that must have been at around this time last week. I saw a lot of good wildflowers out there, which is always cool. And it was perfect. It would have been perfect weather if it weren't for that super strong winds. And then it was all windy all night too. So we had to retreat to the our different, our separate tents. And when I got in my tent, it was nice and without all that wind, it was actually pretty nice. With that wind chill factor, I don't know what it was. It was probably blowing at like 25 to 30 mile an hour gusts or something like that, which isn't too bad, but if you're in a tent. All right, overhanging limbs like so. Look how much darker those impressions are than that right there. You like those new fences, huh? Yeah, I can't wait to use them in more settings here. So speaking of things like flowers on them, like floral, using papers like this type of antique, foliage paper that has these flowers on it like that, these types of things, and using it over the last, I don't know, what has it been, like a couple months or something? Maybe it goes back more than that. It kind of inspired me to get more kind of floral-ish, or to add that type of element into these newer designs, so that we can carry out that theme a little bit more into the scenes. So there's like little flowers in here in this negative space, like right, I don't know if you can see it, like right in here, like that. I mean, you can color it any color you want, but like right in here, you have some sort of colored theme or something like that. You can color those same flowers or something like that within that space. So it's inherently in the negative space, like right in here. Because it's impossible to kind of do that except for like with paint pens or something like that, to add these little dots or something like that within the spaces. So trying to do that right in the designs this time around. All right. There you go, like that. And let's do this. Let's do this right here. I was thinking on this paper it'd be cool to add like a moon or something like that in the background of this colored paper. Is that paper placemat? Not paper placemats, Candy, but it's the it's just antique themed, foliage themed stationery paper. So on this paper, it's pretty cool. The pack comes with, I'm sure there's a gazillion packs of these types out there, but this one happened to come with it's lined on one side, you know, like for stationery, something like that. And on the back side, it's a completely different design. And there's like 5 different designs, you know. And it all has that kind of that looks like an oil painting or something like that. But you can see on the back side, it's this kind of antiqued looking themed foliage paper. Different color themes too. And really, I don't know, really fun to use. All right, so this is supposed to be an impression test video, but I want to see what this scene's going to look like in a, you know, if I was actually stamping a scene. Okay, I just happen to have these trees on my desk here, so I'm just going to use these ones. You know, I might grab a different one. Let's just do this really fast here, because I want to see this, these images in context. Okay. Tree cluster large right here. Hello, Linda D. I always ask this, Linda, but what time is it there for you? I forget the time difference. Severe winds here this evening. Oh, gusts reach at 65. Oh my gosh. What do you think the temperature is then with the with that wind chill factor there for you? 65. Yeah, that's really that's a stiff wind. All right, so just some extra little trees out that way. I think I mentioned, yeah, I was talking about this. I think I was talking about this last week because this sounds familiar. Forgive me for always repeating, probably, but you know, I don't really mind any kind of all the different weather conditions out there. I'm not into the wind though, I'd have to say. Like especially if I'm out in it. Aside, you know, if we're going out like flying a kite or something like that. Which I was telling my customer in Switzerland, which I hardly ever do. But I don't like hiking it. I don't like camping in it. Breeze, yeah, but not like stiff wind. I kind of grew up in it anytime we were going to the beach and central coast of California. In this one particular area that we lived, it kind of sticks out on the map. And it just always seemed, I don't know, it always seemed windy. All right, just kind of anchoring this down a little bit with some additional tone here. And adding shadows in reference to our light source in the background like that. And unless you're rabbits or ghosts, you can kind of anchor them down with a little bit of a shadow. Like that, right there. And see the shadows kind of moving to the right of them because the light source is coming from the left. I don't know, maybe it should move more downward, huh? Like that. A little bit more darker vignette might look cool, but we won't do that on this one. Let me see on those windows there. Should I use a paint pen? Let's use my just light pastel pencil for a little bit of additional reflective light from our light source. So I'm just adding a little bit of this white up on the tops of these rocks in here. That's another one of those things that when I'm working on these designs, I kind of imagine kind of highlighting opportunities on them. So you leave kind of like areas of the rock a little bit lighter so that inherently has variation in it anyway. But then, I don't know, some areas I kind of tweak a little bit so that when you do, or if someone does add some additional lighting in there, it's really kind of cool. Like, see this rock right here? It could have been more silhouette, which has its benefits because you can just stamp it against anything. Like if there's a tree in the background. If this is solid, I don't have to worry about that little strip right there. But, so you kind of make it mostly silhouette. But if you leave just a tiny little bit like that, then you can add, a little bit of highlighting on there like that. Seeing how that kind of stands out a little bit more. It looks a little bit more three-dimensional, so sometimes that's the, whatever you call it, the compromise, between kind of, flatter, possibly easier to use with whatever's in the background, and dimension, having things a little bit more three-dimensional. Who broke a tree? Wind broke a tree across. Oh my gosh, yeah. So when we're having when we're having like higher winds out here these days in Southern California, I think the power company is turning off the electricity because of all the the wildfires that have happened over the last few years, which was a good idea. And of course, everyone's kind of all up in arms about that because it's like, the power company turns off the power. It's super inconvenient. And then if nothing happens, they say, "See, why did you do that? Nothing happened," right? But all. All right, so there's some little bit of highlighting in there and here that kind of relates to the lighting up here. Let's throw a little bit of lighting on here. On the landscape. Oh yeah. Now nature isn't going to have these rabbits, wild rabbits, white, unless they're in the snow. By the way, you can make this into snow too. This could be a snowy terrain in here. You just want to add in the, the sedge filler texture. You can add in those little rocks in there, but you can make this in a winter, terrain as well. All right. But yeah, these rabbits here would stick out like a sore thumb. So maybe they're more of the pets of this owner right here. And of course this fence, totally keeps out the coyotes and foxes. All right. All right. So, a little cottage amongst the, I don't know, whatever, spring blooms, maybe. Oh, glamping. Yeah, yeah. So these friends, I used to go camping pretty often. We didn't do too much backpacking, but it was just car camping, And a lot of that was like 20 years ago. And a couple of my friends that I used to do that with, they said, hey, these days with a lower back or something like that, sleeping in a tent on the ground, that's just not happening anymore. Okay, just adding in a few little highlights. That's like way too bright there, but Again, just playing around here with, I don't know, it's like a glorified stamp sketch here. Just putting a little bit more in there like that. I'm testing, you see, I'm testing, I want to see what those little areas on these stamps look like that where it's like, I retain some lighting in there. And I just want to see what it looks like if that was whatever. Those little, it's like little micro choices here and there within the piece. All right. Okay, let's see. Here's those little flowers in here. That maybe the same flowers that are over here, but just larger. Like so. Oh, now that's like, those white dots are like way brighter than these ones now. So you can just kind of put, some highlights on tops of these. Again, if it's pre-printed papers, you don't have to leave the imagery, pre-printed imagery, just as is. You can kind of balance it out a little bit more with the types of things that you're adding in these areas right here. It's almost too bright. I don't know. Oh, you know what it is? It's like super hot today. It's like 90 degrees outside, almost upper 80s here. So in my room here, it's really warm. I think this paint is flowing a lot more fluid, and there's just more coming out right now. So I don't know, change in temperatures like at 15 degrees or something like that. Maybe from the last time I stamped or whatever, used that pen. I think that's making a difference, I think. Here's a little bit of green here. So you can make your shadows a little bit richer in the color scheme of the paper itself, like that. Okay. So see this right here? Remember to leave kind of little areas a little bit darker, so it's a little bit darker. This is a little bit lighter, darker, lighter, darker. Remember, kind of checkerboarding, that type of concept. Oscillate your lights and darks. Or just retain some lights is really, the type of thing, and it'll make your pieces look so much richer as a result, like that. We need something up here, but I'll just kind of leave it like that. I should probably stamp out some of these overhanging limbs, maybe like in a lighter here. I still have this mounted up like this. A lot of my Marvy inks are totally disintegrating. I looked at that to see if that pad is still kind of intact there. That's kind of a color of that paper, right? Somewhat. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, it's better, huh? Camels, goats, and boar, all wild pests. Linda, you also have those, what was it? Those toads, those introduced toads or something like that in Australia somewhere. I watch all these videos on these invasive types of animals introduced to areas. Oh yeah, the hare introduced somehow back when. All right, that looks a little bit better. That's going to kind of soak in and be a little bit lighter when it dries too. You can do like all kinds of different colors with this. You can do like black. I would do black, and then you can do a medium tone and then a lighter tone like that, and you can create a lot of dimension in your foregrounds. using these kind of larger images like this. And then I have this branch right here, or overhanging tree limb and foliage. And then here's a smaller one, so you can potentially do like this in a lighter tone in the smaller version, like in the background or something like that. Sometimes, you don't want to do it too much, otherwise you won't be able to see the definition in here. But maybe, if I was going to use the smaller one, maybe I don't stamp this one right here, and then you use the smaller one in here, so you have a little bit of distance created between value and then this one right here. It can be within scale too, so you go smaller and then larger, but you can just do it all with the same one too. Let me see this right here. I guess I'm stamping out the scene here. It's not so much a stamp sketch now. Here I'm adding like foreground everywhere. All right, something like that. Pretty fast. Where am I on this one? Didn't take too long. Half-page scene, about like so. Okay. Let's see here. Let's try another one. Let's do this as like water out here or something like that. Or let's see. Okay, here, let me test out some more of these fences. Let's go for some impression tests here. I want to see what these other fences are going to look like, just impression-wise, okay? Let's see, will that fit on there? Just fits on that acrylic block. Okay, let's see. Let's see that one. Isn't that a fun little scene like that? I like that little cottage. I feel it's different enough, having these large structures like that in our foreground areas. I just have, we haven't had that, or I haven't had that in like Stampscapes before. So it's kind of cool seeing what those types of, whatever reference points look like. It makes me already want to do certain ones for other types of themes too, like castles or something like that. Or it could be a Transylvanian castle for our winter stuff. I mean, not winter stuff, but the Halloween stuff. Stuff like that comes to mind. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm checking it out. Okay, 9:56 a.m. in Australia, where Linda D is, as opposed to Linda B, who is in my time. Okay, let's see here. Cardstock can't compete with these stationery papers. The thing about these stationery papers, we're kind of taking advantage of that real kind of fluid painterly style, with these paintings in the background. I don't know, I've seen people do that type of thing, maybe. Not exactly, but some people are really good painters. They're like, they use a lot of watercolors or something like that to finish their scenes off. So there's that kind of amorphic thing going on, like this type of thing. And then there's textures and stuff like that. But getting like this type of stuff right here and building that out, you know what I mean? You have to have some, watercolor know-how and be in practice. But then the thing about these papers like that, it really, it creates such a gigantic contrast with between the sharp and the soft, the textural difference, because these impressions are, they're like super, super crisp, which a rubber stamp design should do. But a rubber stamp like this, I don't know, maybe if there was like ink blotch, you know, designs out there or something like that, then maybe that would look a little bit more abstract and fluid and things like that. Okay, I'm looking at these fences right here just for impressions. I want to see what those look like. Yeah, it creates such a great contrast, and that's something that I've always wanted to go for. I wanted that grace of the something a little bit more fluid, and that's what I've always been going for. Creating kind of softer touches in the backgrounds and things like that. That's why I use a lot of white pigment ink to soften areas after I'm done stamping something out. But these stationery papers just kind of inherently have it, so I don't have to do it. Doesn't mean I'm going to use it like only for now on or something like that. But they sure are fun to kind of throw into the mix. Speaking of that, here we go. You can add like little kind of things like that. You just reminded me of something here. Just kind of adding some of this in the background. So I'm kind of masking off some of that, and here's this little fluidy looking, whatever, horizon mist or cloud going up here like that. Let's add some of that, bring some of that around the tree. That. Kind of illuminates it a little bit, doesn't it? All right, here. Yeah, you just reminded me with that comment like that, but yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we can add a little bit more to this here. Kind of distant parts of objects like that. Like this is a little distant part of this image right here, and this one's a distant part of this image, so you can emphasize that space in between, or along the length of something. So at the distant kind of extremities of it, you could put a little bit of white pigment ink like that, so it looks a little bit more round and you're creating space within something. It's space and light too, and then it's also texture like that. So see that right back in there? That looks better, doesn't it? It kind of relates to the white, so it's like white, white, white right there. It kind of mellowed everything out. I went crazy with the white paint pen this time because it was flowing so kind of extreme like that. Anyway. All right. This would look good with like little pink blossoms in here, huh? Or something like that. It would go well with this green in here. I won't do that right now, but all right, let's try something else. Let's do another impression of that main image. Let's see. Let's try it like this. Here's this cluster of foliage down here. Let's put that in the foreground. It's such a gigantic cluster like that, and like stamping that structure right up here is so... It's kind of different for me. I'd normally stamp some structure a little bit lower like this, but with this gigantic thing of cluster of foliage like that, it puts it right in the... It puts it really close to us as a viewer. The cane toad! I hate that cane toad there, Linda. Reed's my first favorite stamp. I've used it so much over the years. It's kind of hard to get away from it for me. Not that I want to or should or anything like that, but here's the other thing too. See, these things right here, I wanted something, a little bit of a larger thing like this. So these could be bushes, like going into the background. And as a matter of fact, I was thinking about that right in here. If I want to balance this off, see, now I have something like that size. Like, see this right here? It's that same size as opposed to kind of the reeds were always like perfect for that. And then there's the Art Foamy reeds, which is a little bit larger. But these leaves here now, dealing with and experiencing like imagery like this on the pre-printed papers, I thought I really would like something a little bit larger to use. I don't know, it's not worm's eye view or something like that, but it's just a lot bigger in scale, or which would be closer to us from a visual standpoint when looking at, oops, let's see, let's go right off the top of the page right up here. Some big stamps in this, the latest releases here. Remember to get plenty of pressure. I have this going off slightly, I think, off the edge of the paper. Okay, holding that down a little bit longer. After all, this is a pre-printed paper, so again, I always mention this. You're stamping onto printer inks that are sealing off the paper a little bit. I got a darker impression on this one because I held it down a little bit longer, but you can see how much lighter this impression is from this one. Okay. So keep that in mind if you're stamping on these types of papers right here. I'm going with a hybrid ink right here, but the VersaFine Clair would probably be the perfect ink to use on this type of paper in terms of impression quality and darkness, because it's a, that would be an oil-based pigment ink, which is, thicker than like a dye-based ink. I think I'm going to pick up a bunch of VersaFine Clairs, I think in different colors, and finally get around to doing that. I haven't gotten around to doing that. Okay, let's see. Let's do this right here. Let's have this fence coming in like that. I don't want to have it going in that far. Let's do it about like this right here. Yeah, I couldn't resist getting that into a full scene, Stamp sketch. Stamp sketch no more. I want to stamp full, like a full scene. Maybe it's because I've been doing those in like not inchies, but like those little 2-inch ones. I had a little bit of like full scene stamping withdrawals or something like that. Okay, let's see like this. Let's go down here maybe. Like this. This, and then I wonder if I can use these other fences, and I don't know if I would want to, not in this composition right here. I could do another fence. I have that other set of fences, nature set number 26. I have these smaller ones back here that would be kind of cool to go, because you'd kind of create this little bit of a, visual kind of like S curve in here. with that other fence line back in here. You know, it's about this long or so. That would be really good. And then put like a tree line behind that. Okay, let's see here. I'm trying to think if I want... I feel like putting some more rocks in here to, you know, kind of mimic this side of it right in here, but I want to go grab those right now. Let's just do some kind of quick scenarios here. Okay, let's see. I'm reading your comments here. Hello, horsey girl. Yeah, cane toad. That's okay. That's up in Queensland. Okay. Oh, they're making their way down, huh? New South Wales. Yeah. I saw a documentary on that whole thing. I don't know, maybe like a few years ago or something like that. There's so many invasives in so many different areas. I was watching like stuff like in the U.S. it's like anacondas. I think the Everglades, is that it or something like that? And yeah, lionfish. People letting their like aquarium fish go out in nature, and it being a real problem. I think there's what are those fish up in the Great Lakes area? Carp, yeah. I think there's like they're trying to have like these contests and stuff like that to get people kind of interested in, you know, fishing for like these invasive carps and stuff like that. They call it carpageddon, get 'em, or something like that. All right, let's see here. Okay, again, I just happen to have this tree here. I would use like a different tree up here. But let's just do this again here. Let's go like this. I think so, Linda D. We have that one reseller in Australia, and I think she copied or shared my post, and I think she wrote in that shared post that you know, you can go and you know, take place orders, like pre-sale orders. They don't have them there yet. Well, no one has them because they just got them in today. But I think if you contact them, they will be placing orders at some point. I'm guessing, you know. I don't know what their Facebook following is, but I'm pretty sure what that, I don't know, they weren't inferring, they were saying it directly, you know, straight out, but look at this one right here. Maybe not. Okay, I'm looking for this larger deer silhouette. I want to put that right here. You see this kind of thing right here? It's this kind of directional type of thing right here. You get this cluster right here, and then this is kind of going off like right in that direction. So if I put something right here, and if we put like a, here, I think that moon looks really good. In here, it kind of creates this visual focal point. I mean, you can do this too. I think this, you know, right here, like a moon up here, and then you have this focal point over here, and then it goes like this, so it's like this ziggy type of thing. But let's just do it where it's just kind of going back in this direction right here. Now let's put this right down here, actually, like it's a rising moon or something like that, just to make something a little bit different from that previous, the immediate scene that I just did. But let's do this right here. it's a double mask. Here we go. I need like a 2-inch hole punch or something like that, or maybe I need to have my wife cut me out a bunch of like different size, whatever, round, what templates or whatever on like the Cricut, like different sizes. I'm always using this 1-inch right here. If I had like a 1.5 and 2-inch as well, that would be good. All right, see that where I went over that little rooftop there? You just kind of do that and then just draw it back in like that rather than having to work around it. You know, it takes like, 2 seconds to draw that back in right there. Okay, so you have that, and then let's close this off again. So these colors right here, let's just do black. Let's see. Here, let me do that thing where I was talking about. Let's do this overhanging here, and then I'll do the smaller one. We'll do it, play around with that scale a little bit. Hello, Janet, Sharita. Yeah, too many people letting go of those animals in nature. They probably could have, I don't know. I noticed I walked into a Petco yesterday, and there was I was looking in the fish area, and then they have a tank there, or 2 tanks that were, I don't know, it just said donations, I was saying, oh, okay, so, people aren't letting go like whatever, Jack Dempsey's and Oscars. There was nothing like that big, but letting go of their, gives people an option rather than just kind of letting go of their whatever pets that they can't take care of anymore, or just overgrown ones, just out in nature. Like even like a goldfish, I guess, there's like a goldfish problem in terms of invasives. But in our scenes, like this, it's, the landscapes are more pure. All right. Let me say, I don't have a color. What color would that be? Does anyone have like a pad that's this, what is it? It's like a greenish, dark gray like that in here, like a little bit of a darker tone. That would be a really great color like that. I guess it's kind of grayish, right? I don't have a color like that to match that. It has a little bit of a greenish tinge. Here, this is what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna have to go with this right here. So if you don't have like a lighter version of something, then you just kind of, right? Here, let me see what, yeah. Then just go for a lighter version of it. Okay, let's see. Let's go with this. Think about like that. Yeah, that. I think that might even look better than that that dual impression one of the same size like that. See like that right in there? It's kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't have that greenish tinge right there. Okay, but see that right there? Where that darker tinge is right there, and then we have that coming in right here. It doesn't really match up with this one right down here because this is all painted right here. So I think it might be good to create a little bit of extra depth. Now we want this in here. That's the only reason why you use that paper, is because you want to utilize the the designs on this pre-printed paper like this, but again, you can kind of add to it. So now I have this, and it matches up, enough down here, to make it look, I hope, somewhat natural. Okay, I want to go for a pretty dark impression of this right here. Yeah, I did get the new sets in today. Yeah. I'm going to be working all night packaging them. And then if I can get them out, okay, see that right there? Like that? That's a little bit unbalanced. We need to have a little bit more right here. Yeah, I just got that. I'm inspecting them too. So I had to, I'm inspecting them the sheets. I told my rubber guy to really inspect too. But then I don't know, whatever, double inspecting. But it won't be anything. Nothing will be on the engraver or the mold side of it, the matrix boards they call it. Yeah, see like that? So you have these darker little forms like that, and that'll merge in with that. And see this thing like this in that 70% grayscale? I don't know, it's a little bit lighter up there, but then this is like against this lighter area right here. This is a little bit of a darker tone right here that these things are against. So I think that looks pretty decent. As far as creating cohesion, that's the thing, when you're doing these, when you have these pre-printed papers or something like that, when you're working on an existing design, like these papers, a little bit less with like Deanna's papers. Deanna's papers are more kind of, they're open to, variation. You can, like our skies or something like that. Deanna's papers, she makes it where you can use kind of any type of scene. Yeah, maybe not like a super warm sunset one. You could like make it into a winter scene, but probably not, But they're a little bit more open. I mean, this one right here with all these florals right here, not gonna make it like a winter scene. But the thing is, again, what I'm getting at is working with these papers like this. You want all the different imagery and how you use it to kind of, you know what I mean, to have a certain continuity with that paper, so it doesn't look like so kind of separate. Usually, I don't know, there's probably, examples of where you're trying to create contrast between that or something like that, but short of that. Okay, here's this deer right here. I'm just blotting off some of the ink off the bottom. I was looking for the larger one, but I don't know, it's somewhere. Let's do that right there. Let's see. All right, this is like a find Waldo, not really, but find what you remember those highlights books where you're looking for all the little creatures in there. Find 5 rabbits or something like that. Okay, let's see. I was hoping that this one right here, that's really, really tiny, all that line work on them would come out because it was so small. You're always worried that in some of the more kind of delicate areas of the design, some of the line might not translate. So I don't know. You're always kind of rolling the dice because you don't want to make it look too thick either on such a little tiny creature. You know, this big old thick, you know, kind of gestural line or something like that. All right, let's see what we can do here real fast. Anyways, I like what I see in terms of how these images are working. You know, they're working kind of like how, you know, how I had hoped. You never want, you always want to hope they work, you know, as you hope they would, you know, or better than that. So I'd say like these leaves right here, that's, you know, it's something that I really wanted for a while. And then I have them. I haven't been using my antiqued fall paper. But these ones right here, you can kind of color this black. You can go and color these kind of maple leaves. I don't know, coming up in spring, you can do in variations of green, but you can add little highlights on them of browns, you know, oranges, reds, gold, you know, ochres and stuff like that on here, and then stamp them out with a lot of color, especially on that like autumn, you know, the autumn themed papers, or you just create your own autumn. You know, there's a lot of autumn imagery too that we have. But now, you know, I have the foreground kind of overhangs to use with that now too. Let's see, Gina K. Cadet Blue is nice. That sounds like a nice blue. What kind of blue is that, Sharita? I'll look it up now. I love all blues out there. Does anyone have like a favorite blue ink? Like I said, I love the full range of it. I used to really, it wasn't my favorite or anything like that. But one I really, I don't know, I like was Prussian blue, the Marvy one. It's like super, super dark. And then there was a manganese blue in Marvy, but it was in pen form only. I think this one's it right here. Yeah, manganese blue right here. That blue right there was such a great blue. It should have been the blue that they used in their pads, I think. I think this is like I might have re-inked this with a different ink because they didn't have a re-inker for this one right here because you know, they didn't release it in pad form, but it was such a crystalline, bright, kind of lighter than medium blue. But instead of doing salvia, I like the salvia too, but that manganese added such a bright, such a brightness to any scenes if I added it into the mix of, you know, of a range of blue tones. The only thing about adding in with that, you had to kind of wipe it on, you know, get some of that ink onto a sponge or something like that, and then apply it that way to blend it. Anyways, anchoring down some of this imagery like this. I mean, it anchors down anyways, but if you kind of add that little bit of shadow to the base, it really adds, you know, kind of that final weighted touch like this. So here's a little tip right here. The closer you get to your light source like that, unless it's like way down the horizon there, it's creating these longer shadows. I usually do kind of a shorter shadow. And then see, this gets a little bit farther away, or this one right here, you know, it's not as, you know, it's farther away from that light source. So you create these shadows. They're a little bit more elongated like that. Or this one over here. See, this is like a 1/2 inch. Where it gets right up here, it's just like a tiny little less than 1/8 of an inch right here on the horizon. Then over here, it gets a little bit longer. See it right down here, it gets a little bit longer like that. I mean, it could be like a 5% shadow too. It doesn't have to be like a really super strong, dramatic one. And that also kind of reemphasizes the distance of your objects to, whatever the background or horizon line, like that. So, little tip there, longer shadows, the closer something gets to you. All right. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. This little tiny rocks is like an addiction for me. It's like like a good addiction though. Right. I didn't really need to add this texture in here because on this paper right here, the paper already kind of has a lot of texturing in there. Here's this little brownish tone in here, and there's a lot of variation in there anyway. Okay, let's put this kind of path of light into the scenario right here. Okay, let me see here. It looks between a Tim Holtz Distress Ink Bundle Sage and Rustic Wilderness. Okay, now see, I don't even know those two colors right there. I need to take a look at those, whatever those offerings are these days. I haven't looked at a lot of the latest color. When I say latest colors, for all I know, it's been out there for 20 years. I do need to pick up some more tones, I don't know, this year. Because like I said, my Marvies, I kind of use my stuff until it just can't be used anymore. See, I'm doing this little path of light up here. It's a little bit stronger up here. I don't know if you can notice it, but see, I'm putting this down a little bit more here. I'll try to emphasize it a little bit more. So there's a little bit of a thicker kind of application of there. So it's strong right here. And then what you do is you just kind of use a little bit less. You dissipate it like that. When, if you're out somewhere in reality, it might be the same kind of brightness in real life or something like that. Okay. Lightness, not brightness, but lightness. Like that. But when you're drawing, you can emphasize something a little bit more. So I'm emphasizing that source of light more by making it stronger right here than right here. Okay. So I'm doing it within the space of that's supposed to represent, I don't know, whatever, 100 yards, 50 yards or something like that. Like that. So it's a little bit stronger here and lighter, thinner down here. And the shadows are narrower down here, but longer down here. Okay. So it's, just playing around with that shading a little bit more. Let's do this on some of the rocks here. Like that. Okay, I think that's enough. And okay, let's see. Let's use the white paint bit. Let's do this right here too. Let me see what this looks like right here. I'll put this in the window instead of the pastel. I'll really kind of illuminate interior light. The cottage on this one. You can. I lost my other scene. Where'd my other scene go? Someone stole the scene that I just stamped out. Hey, how can I lose that scene? Oh, here we go. Okay, so that's with the pastel pencil. I should do that. I need to do that. The white paint pen. Maybe it's because I wiped out. I need to seal that off. Someone was asking me if they should seal off their pastel pencil. And I just said, like if it was like really thin like this, you probably don't need to seal it off at all or very much, especially if you're not like sending it to someone. But if you build it up more, like several layers of pastel, where it's kind of dust on dust, then you should probably seal it off. And I would seal it off with like the Krylon spray fixative is perfect for that application. But, on something like this, it's not really thickly applied, so I just said, it's up to you. It also depends on the kind of the softness of the brand of pastels as well. How much is being applied and transferred onto the on the surface when you're using it. So on the fences like that, what you do is you just make your little check mark like that, and you're doing it like that. Okay, so you create this kind of little gestural mark as opposed to that. Okay, like that. Kind of touch it like that and just do a little check mark like that. Okay, and it makes it a little bit more gestural of a mark. Potentially. So you can do these little things like that, and that creates a little bit of separation between the foreground leaves and these background leaves. You can put it on the background leaves too, though. But it creates a little bit more separation if you just do it on one. So on one, it creates continuity like that, or it creates separation. But if you do it on these background ones, it creates more continuity. So it's, so it's, it's whatever you want to do. Okay, so here's these leaves down here. That. And I find it, I usually go like way overboard, or I used to a little bit more. So it's like I try to hold it out at arm's distance a little bit more and take a look at it, so I don't kind of like, I don't know, have these little kind of like highlights on like everything. If you're playing around with stuff though, just go overboard, early on, especially if you haven't like highlighted stuff like that before, because it's always better to kind of learn and kind of, how much is going to look kind of ideal for you than to always kind of hold back, and then you can adjust later on. And then if there are marks like, oh my god, I went just too crazy with it, there's too many like little dots and stuff like that, then just take a colored pencil and just go over some of them and tone them down, like on these leaves or something like that. You can just use a black colored pencil too to tone them down if you're using white. All right. Okay, let's see here. White pigment ink. Like so. Kind of the distant end of our objects like that to create a little bit more space and distance. That. Oops. See, it was such an effective Find Waldo type of scenario here. I completely forgot about the rabbits because I couldn't find them. So let's put a little, let's color the, put a little bit of tone on these rabbits. You can color them a different color too. You want brown or something like that instead of just this white right here. Has anyone ever had a rabbit as a pet? When I was in Petco yesterday, I went to Petco because it was right next door to Staples. I had to pick up some cardstock. Their adoption area, I figured it would be about like a few cats or something like that, but they had it was all rabbits. All right, so here's these little rabbits in here. I think there's little highlights on their ears or something like that. They blend in perfectly with the foliage right here. You can create, if you want to create kind of a dramatic scenario, you can put like a coyote impression out here looking over them or something like that. I think the coyote is in the canine nature set. All right, so some different impression tests right here using nature set number 77B or nature set number 56 code 77B. Just a couple quick scenarios here made really fast by using the the pre-printed styles of aged foliage paper, but I want to do some scenarios of this, all the different imagery in all the different seasons. So yeah, I'm looking at this one right here. If I just stamp this out on a white piece of paper or blue, I want to do one of those blue ones like on a lapis lazuli or something like that, like on Stardream. I want to see this cabin right here in a cool setting, like on blue paper or something like that, where you can go in and tone it in with whites like that, or just stamping it on a white piece of paper and using the cooler tones in there. I don't know, maybe about metallics too might be kind of interesting. Let's see. Zellicus says, my favorite part with the Brilliance taps for highlights. Yeah, isn't it fun to go in there, Zellicus? And when you start tapping in with those Brilliance inks like that, it really changes the, it really expands on the textural range of the scenes with that white pigment ink. And it, adjusts the lighting and distance. It pushes distance as well within the pieces. Got into okay. You never got into oxides there, huh, Candy? I've seen a lot of oxide effects out there. I like what I've seen. When it came to scenes, I didn't see it used as like coloring. In most of the examples, I think I've seen those oxides used as a background, and then they did that water reactive type of thing where they spray it. So they're setting out, and then they're just kind of stamping over the top of those ones. And I like the looks of those ones, and I like the intensity. And the oxides had a little bit of that shimmer too, didn't they? To the finish. I don't have a single oxide pad though. I don't know. Are people using the oxides as much anymore? It seemed like that was like really, really popular there for a while. Not necessarily with scenes though, but I just remember a lot of people stamping with it. Did someone mention oxides too? I remember someone. Um, I thought it was. Was that you, Sharita? I don't know. If Sharita's still on, but someone when they first got into stamping, I asked them what inks that did they have, just in terms of thinking about some kind of different scenarios with how to use Stampscapes. I don't. Someone had just gotten into stamping. They had a bunch of the oxide pads, I think, and it was like, oh, I don't really know what to tell them because I haven't used them myself, but I really liked some of the things that I saw from you know some of the usages of that that I've seen, and then I've seen some, like I said, I've seen some where people stamp something out and they were able to achieve like some really bright intensities with the colors, just kind of more in a stamp first, color second type of scenario. I don't know if it was like multimedia too, or what, if they were using oxides plus other things. I used rabbits. You used to raise rabbits as a kid. Huh. That's cool. Oh, your father bred them for food, huh? I think my dad, who grew up on this farm up in Washington, I think they used to too. I think he mentioned that. Let's see. Had to get all the re-inkers too. Has anyone used those oxide re-inkers just like on a sponge or anything like that? Or is that how you use it? To get all those backgroundy types of different, whatever color transitions and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever seen I don't think I've watched like a demo of that. There's got to be dozens and dozens of examples of that with how popular those were, huh? Made lots of room in my file. Oh yeah, I noticed that comment there, Linda, on Facebook. Um, Speaking of Facebook, I always mention this if anyone's new here. If you're on Facebook, take a look at the Facebook Stampscapes group. Not the Stampscapes page, but the Stampscapes group. And see all those really cool small scenarios. There's that small scene challenge going on right now with the I think all the scenes are like 3 inches or below that people are adding up there. I added a lot of 2 inch ones, but some of those 1 inch ones are pretty wild. Like Jeannie. I don't know if Jeannie's watching right now, but Jeannie's always working on full page scenes, 8.5 by 11. I don't remember the last time Jeannie posted like a. I mean, she might have, the 4.25 by 5.5 standard quarter page card. I think some half page ones, but she's not usually working like really big. So going down to like 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 for her is like really extreme from her norm, or I don't know what more norm than like the quarter page ones. But yeah. And she did some really great little compositions there. It's amazing what some people, given the challenge, can fit into such a tiny little format, And it's really fun to do too. And they're definitely what you can consider quick scenes. Okay, Sharita, you do have a lot of the oxides, huh? I've used the ox. Maybe they're the ones that maybe I saw your pieces, Linda. I asked someone one time. I was wondering how someone got such of strong intensity on one of those posts. It has to be on Facebook. I don't think there's any other place where I'm posting like comments like that. And I think they mentioned whoever it was. This is like a while ago, but they mentioned it was the oxides. It's like, oh, okay. It's not just kind of more of a water reactive type of texturing thing, spraying something that they're using that for. Then it's just, you can just use it just straight for the color then too, huh? Dye in pigment. Standard distress is dye. Yeah. Oxide is more permanent once dry, and you can layer over. So Zella said you're talking about you can layer over it with additional oxides then, right? Not dyes over the oxides, but oxide over oxide. It doesn't put, if you do oxide over oxide, the wet oxide on the dry oxide, it's not putting the dry oxide then back into solution. Or when people are doing those like spotty types of like sprayed backgrounds with the oxide, you got to do that then before it dries then, right? In order for it to kind of texture and I don't know, whatever you call it. Like, it almost looks like it's bleached out or something like that. Hello, Tommy. Good to see you. Hope those scissors are doing well for you. The Kais, right? Tommy used to have speaking of Facebook, Tommy used to have his own Facebook stamping group. Yeah. What was the name of that stamping group you had? Small projects and email you. I'm not into socials. Okay. It's how small can you go, Linda? See if you can do a one inch scene. And remember, those 1 inch things, you don't have to go with necessarily like like super small designs. You just use, really small portions of them, if there's a spot on the stamp, that are, kind of ideal for that. So like these ones right here, these little, structures like this, they are the, I don't have the printout right here, but those are just they're like the largest stamps on this piece right here, but I just use like, I think that's that side right there. It's just using this little corner of this stamp right here, and this one right here is, I think it's this little corner right here, yeah. So I just used, I don't know, whatever, like a 3/4 inch portion or a 1/2 inch portion of these large designs like that, to fit. This is a 2 inch right here. And yeah, so just use certain little portions of your designs. Now this isn't a mirrored, reflection card format like that. But just that little 2 inch version up there. It's it's a fun little whatever, card scenario or something like that. So you have background and sky, foreground, whatever. And see, you can even have those little touches like that, little atmospheric fog or something like that. I want to do these little corridors like this, and then I have my street lamps I want to stamp in here, and then maybe use the glow in the dark vinyl sticker paper on those street lamps, or maybe I would just have it this way and then go lamp, 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 not this, side of the street in here. And then I want to do that like cloaked figure walking down the street in that type of scenario, kind of like that Exorcist scene of Max von Sydow walking up to the, the house in question. Or maybe like a Jack the Ripper type of thing, maybe, or something like that, for a little bit more of an ominous type of scenario. I was going to do that one tonight, but I was like, okay, this one came and I'm going to do that one. We'll do that scenario at some other time. But yeah, okay, let's see. Yeah, thanks for posting that challenge up there. I was just kind of, in one of these Friday Night Lives, we were talking about that, and Linda B here decided to do that challenge, which was yeah, cool to do. I haven't seen that challenge before like that. Stamp Camp, that's right, Tommy. Let's see. I will wear my magnifier. Yeah, the streetscapes like that. All right, so anyways, just some impression tests with that. Like I said, my rubber guy tested them out, and it looks like everything is looking great with the plate and everything with this last set right here. I did some impression tests with the other 4 new sets 2 weeks ago, and everything looks really good to go. We redid one plate because this little guy's sitting on this bench. There was an irregularity within that bench right there, but we had that redone. And so everything is good to go. I will be packaging up all of the sets tonight, and I will start, if I get that all done, I'll start shipping all of those pre-orders out tomorrow. So tomorrow and Monday, I'll have them done. Thanks everyone for the support too, by the way. For the continued support and everything like that. I love doing what I do, and it's all still fresh to me, especially with stuff like this, like these different scenarios like this. It's like, I hadn't really thought about these kind of larger kind of views of cabins and things like that, or structures before. And if you guys didn't see this one, here's like I don't know, I was just doing some impression tests like this. So this is supposed to be like one scene right here. This is just like how to use that rail like that. I would stamp other things in here, but the little cobbles or something like that, those things worked really well within the scenario. One of the things I have to do too is I have to get, if I'm doing these kind of opposing types of street sides, like this should have been up here a little bit more. So I need to kind of put a little marking on the back of my, in this case, I'm using the cling foam versions, but I need to put a little bit of a marking on the back of them where that horizon kind of part is. So they'd match up a little bit. This would be a little bit more better if it was about a 1/2 inch higher up like that. So getting used to it like that. But anyways, yeah, you do it once, you kind of, figure it out. Yeah. So can't wait to experiment around with these. But like I was telling someone else today, I really can't wait to see what other people do, because I see how these stamps are used in so many different scenarios in ways that I hadn't thought about before. Yeah, street corridor, Tommy. Yes, like streetscapes. So people have asked me about doing like cities or buildings before, but I really didn't know how to do it because without having to do a lot of masking, because if you have like too many hard edge types of things, you just can't overlap them, because you're going to have like building showing through building. Until this is like the first time I got around to it, where it's like, okay, you just do that on the sides, because I usually didn't have structures that weren't complete, like this, there isn't like the full cabin here, that would take, that would be the one design on this whole, thing like that. So I just hadn't considered it before, just doing, like cutting things off like this before. I've done it with rocks or something like that, but it's like, okay, I don't know. I'm a slow learner, so it's like, okay, I guess you can do it with structures like this and just have the, whatever cottage, whatever right, or street, buildings, suburbia, urban, types of things left and right like that, and not worry about this where it, has, can be used as a whole or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay, let's see here. You should link the video of that scene. Which one was that? Is all says okay? I already forgot what I was mentioning there. That you're referring to. Glad you like it. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Thanks for checking out Nature Set 56. We'll be mailing out your sets SAP. All right, good to see everyone. Happy stamping to you. Drop me a note if you ever have any questions. And yeah, can't wait to see your different... These rabbits crack me up. Those little ears kind of mimic the shapes of these plants, you know, the leaves right here. I'll have to think about that and utilize that a little bit more. It's camouflage. All right, everyone. Good night.